Hello, everybody. Dave Fanale here. And yes, this is a special Saturday edition of Real Estate Talk TGIF. Thank God it's finale. Usually it's on a Friday, so it's the FB is for Friday and finale, but today it's Saturday. So we're not going to change the name to Thank God It's Saturday. But, you know, here where we're at in northern New Jersey, it's a little rainy, a little gloomy today, and I figured we'd lighten it up. You know, yesterday, unfortunately, as I said in my promo, it was a sick day. Sorry. Got to do them every now and then, and for me, it's got to be real sick to happen. But, you know, as sick as I am mentally, here I am talking, not physically anymore. We're here with Matt DeFede, Realty executive, broker owner in Nutley, New Jersey. And, you know, Matt and I became friends just on this platform, on the Facebook platform. That's how we met. That's how we became friends. I don't even think we've talked to each other in person more than a couple of times, but we've gotten to be good friends and gotten to learn from each other. So, Matt, welcome. Tell us about you and your brokerage and what you're doing these days with the real estate business.
Well, thank you for inviting me on here. I've seen a couple other of my, I guess, peers on here as well. And I thought it was a great idea. And I think you're doing a great job at this as well.
Thank you.
You know, what we're doing over here is this is the 4th year. We just actually passed our anniversary on the 4th of December. I remember we were opening up on the way down to the convention, and it was snowing on the parkway, and I got to go ahead to open up my office. So it's been about 4 years. It seems like 40 years right now, because there's been a lot of growing pains, and there's been a lot of there's a bigger learning curve than what I anticipated when I opened up my office. You know, I go back. I was with Coldwell Banker for about 10 years. And I was with Keller Williams about couple of years back in 03 and 04 before they became what they are today. And my idea to open up a brokerage in Nutley is I have some really deep roots in this town. And I thought the town needed a new, fresh type of approach to real estate, because the brokerages that are in this town right now have been here for a rather long time. And we all know what happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago in real estate.
Right.
Remember back in the day when brokers and realtors had actually a book that wasn't published and had to be looked at. People had to come into that big, beautiful, fancy office and look at the book to see which homes were actually for sale. But we know what ruined that, right?
Right. I think we're on it.
Exactly. So, no more. It doesn't work that way no more. And unfortunately, a lot of the agents that are out there now are still working from that model. They're still working from the model of the, hey, they'll come to us in our big fancy office. But those days are changing. I mean, I'm looking at larger companies like Coldwell Bankers and the Weikerts of the world. They're condensing their offices and they're regionalizing everything, because no more the large overhead type of heavy brokerages work anymore. The real estate industry is right here. It's in my hand. This is where it's at, right?
Right.
That's where home buyers and home sellers go now. They don't come to us first. They go online first, and then they come to us after the fact. So,
yeah. It's, you know, it's funny because back then you talked about the book, right? And that was when we were the keepers of the information.
Right.
They had to come to us. They had to call us. The information wasn't available anywhere else. And then one day you walk into the office or wherever you're working, and there's this thing called a computer where that's the MLS now. And then it just blew up from there, right?
Correct. And then all of a sudden we had the Zillows of the world come out, which now are more or less our direct competition. At least for me, I feel Zillow is more of a competitor than the office down the street from me. So my approach to it became a little different. And it comes from years of working in the .com industry.
Right.
I started as a designer, and then I went to the .com field in the early 1990s. And then I got into real estate, and then Zillows of the world popped up and the Trulios of the world popped up. And then I started seeing changes go on. And I slowly but surely made, you know, real estate my full-time gig, and I decided to open an office. And the one miscalculation I made was, I think I told you this, I thought agents would have the same, I guess, work, I wouldn't say ethic, but the same drive that I have.
Drive. I think I agree with you. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, when I was working for Coldwell Banker, I was working for all these companies. Nobody generated leads for me. I had to do it on my own. I was going to open up an office where I was going to supply leads to all the agents. They were going to go out, close deals, make me money. Didn't happen that way. The first 6 months I opened up, we blew up to about 24 agents. And I remember saying, well, that's not hard to recruit agents. I had the agents. I started feeding them leads. 6 months down the road, not one agent closed a deal from any of the leads I generated. And I was generating the leads.
Why do you think that is?
I don't think they understand the concept of sales. I don't think they understood the concept of follow up and follow through. I think that was the big problem. They would call, text, maybe they would call once, and the person either wouldn't recall or respond to them, and they wouldn't try again. That would be a dead lead, they would call it. So that was my first, foray into my learning curve in this business, and I'm still learning every day something new. And then I keep altering my business and changing it. But I kind of take the approach of, we're not really a real estate brokerage. We are a company that markets real estate for sale. I consider my office a marketing company, a real estate marketing company. That's how I see it. And there's two different types of marketing. There's push marketing and pull marketing. We use a lot of the pull marketing. So when we list a property, or when I list a property, photography is very important, media is very important, video is very important. A lot of times social media has become very important to my office. I mean, I get about 95% of my clientele comes from social media. And I run campaigns daily. And when I mean campaigns, I mean your home gets exposed daily on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Google+. We used to use Tumblr. We don't see it to be relative anymore. Our content marketing, I build content around the listing to bring people in. Our target demographic are New York City buyers. That's where a majority of my leads come from. The majority of people coming from New York City, the outer boroughs, Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Jersey City are coming this way. Most of the towns I sell in are Belleville, Clifton, Bloomfield, Nutley, North Arlington, Lyndhurst, across the bridge.
Right.
So my strategy is a little different. It's a little more flexible, a little more pliable, and I can deploy marketing rather quickly because all my creative is done in-house. We don't use any third-party services. Everything is done from the print ads to the social media posts to all the video. Everything is done in-house.
So you find that, not to cut you off for 1 second, to ask you about that, because you do everything in-house.
Correct.
And the reason you can do it in-house is because, A, you've got the experience and know-how how to do different things. But do you find that it's feasible for you with a good return on investment for your time? You know how people talk about, oh, it's a great return on investment, but a lot of people don't see that there's an ROI for time as well as money invested, correct?
Correct. Correct. Well, I do find I find it works for me because I can move rather quickly. That's the part I enjoy.
Right.
Anytime I get a new listing, I spend about a good week to 2 weeks just deploying content and then consistently keeping the content flow going. Right. So that's the part I enjoy. That's my wheelhouse. That's where I feel comfortable.
Right.
And that's where when I look out there and I see, I know every brokerage in my town, and I don't see them as a competitor because they don't do the same thing that we do. They don't market the same way that we do. I mean, I had a podcast back in 3 years ago when I had the Nutley Real Estate Show. It was a podcast, and a lot of brokers were laughing at me when I did it. But then all of a sudden, 4 or 5 months later, they were trying to do their own podcast.
Right.
They were trying to do their own videos. And then so they laugh at you first, and they try to emulate you. Now,
I go back to the same thing when I started doing video 11, 12 years ago, and other brokers would look at me. So I saw your video today, and they start chuckle a little bit. I said, "You think that's funny?" He says, "Yeah, well, I don't know." I mean, I said, "But yeah, you watched the whole thing, didn't you?" And they go, "Yeah, we did."
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, when I saw you down at the convention a couple of weeks ago, when I ran into one of my mortgage guys, and I sat down, I haven't seen him in a while, and he was telling me how he was struggling with, building some business and building a brand. And I sat him down at breakfast, and I said, "Listen, I can tell you what I do. I can show you how to do it. But when I do that to people, what happens most of the time? They don't do it. Right. Don't ask me why. They want to know it. They want to learn how to do it. They don't do it.
Well, there's three types of professionals out there when you talk about sales. One is those that just do it and are successful at it. The other is the ones that want you to do it for them and want to take the credit. And the third is those that want their hand held and will do a little bit, but once their hand is unheld, they stop doing it.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I came up and I sat there with him and I mapped out something that took me 15 minutes to explain to him. And I said, you know, you got to remember, I said, we're no longer, I think we're in the media and content generating business as brokers and realtors.
Right.
It's just the byproduct of that is we're selling homes, especially today with all these devices that we have. I mean, there's no reason why you have this device in your hand. This is access to the world right here. Right? Agents didn't have that 15, 20 years ago. You have it right here, and it's taken for granted. It's not used well. Now, right. I believe if I make a post on my Instagram account, Twitter, Facebook account, I mean, I can actually reach 50,000 people with one post, if not more.
That's right, and you will. And we got a comment from Adalia that says because work is involved and they want it easy. What we were just talking about. Thank you, guys, for the comment.
I made a video the other day. I'm going to reiterate this. If there are any agents watching, it's very simple. And I call it the 3 steps to 30 days to build your business. And especially this time of year when it slows down a bit, agents should be doing this right now. Because what you do in the last quarter of 2018 is going to be what you reap in the first quarter of 2019 and so on and so on. So, and what I did was I mapped out a program for him. I said, listen, every day, this is what I want you to do for 30 days. I want you to go online, first Facebook Live, 2 to 3 minutes, added value video about something. Don't just talk about your Christmas presents or your kids. Have added value, right? Take that link. Take the link from that video, post it on LinkedIn, right? Now there's 3. So you got Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is becoming a lot more prominent. I'm noticing some of my posts getting 2,000 to 3,000 views per day on posts. My network is about 8,000 people on LinkedIn and keeps growing. But then there's Instagram. But people don't understand how Instagram works. Instagram has an algorithm as well. So what you do is you take a screenshot of what you posted on LinkedIn. You post that on Instagram. Make sure you use hashtags. Make sure they're relevant. And then take the link and put it in your bio for that day until you change it the next day. So you see how it all ties in? It takes about 30 minutes to do the whole thing. Now, if you do that for 30 days straight, you're going to get clients. You're going, even if it's one client, you're going.
It's called work. It's just. I mean, it's work.
Work.
You know,
it's time really and simple. It's simple. No like trust. That's it.
Right. I hear this all the time, and it's just what I just said. Someone's going to do it. Someone wants you to hold their hand and do it for them. Then someone wants you to do it for them. That's just the whole thing. I mean, I'm running Thursday a private session, all day session. I'm calling it an ad-a-thon because you're talking, especially this time of year, to get your word out there. Look, the best time to advertise on any social media channel is December 23rd to January 2nd.
Yep.
Why is that? People say, well, why? It should be the slowest time. Nope. A lot of people out there getting some new toys for Christmas, and they're going to be on them for 10 days straight, playing with them, seeing how they work, whether it's tablets, whether it's phones, whether it's iPads or computers. They're still getting new devices, and that's why it's the best time to market yourself and some listings. Because I'll be doing myself probably anywhere 5 to 10 ads for myself and for listings and for sales. I'll be doing that myself. So I mean, what you just said, that is the recipe for success in any sales business, especially mortgages and in real estate. And that's just amazing. That's great. And that's, you know what? Unfortunately or fortunately, that's what you do differently. That's what you teach differently. Right. And it's simple to figure out why it works. It's called exposure, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't know how many people I run into, And, you know, I've been at this for a while, and even in my local town, the funny thing is it goes back to know, like, trust. If they know you,
right,
they like you, and they trust you, they'll do business with you. Now, in my town here, which is Nutley, and it's a small town, 3 square miles. It has 12,000 homes, 36,000 residents. Okay. I can walk to the Starbucks or go to the diner. They know what I do before they even know my name. But I've been working at this for a very long time. They'll usually say, oh, yeah, that's the real estate guy. What's his name?
Right.
But I know that my brand is being built. And then there's other parts you need to do, and you have to be strategic about it. And, you know, Facebook has been one of those platforms that has been made it's made building a brand that much easier. Look what we're doing right now. We're doing video. We couldn't do this 10 years ago.
No.
Couldn't do it 10 years ago. I have clients that I work with sometimes that I show them a home via FaceTime now. I had a client in Spain who wanted to buy a home in Nutley. We did a FaceTime walkthrough.
That's you know, I have a couple of online coaching programs out there, and just to hit actually the shameless plug for both of them. One is the SOI method. It talks about getting people, getting the exposure of being, you know, in the area, being omnipresent in your area and with your sphere.
Omnipresent, that's the word.
Okay.
Omnipresent.
The other one, Real Estate Skill Builder, is talks about, it's all about the art of differentiation, right? So one of the things that is in there is not only doing 360 previews and interviews for homes, it's also doing an online buyer presentation. Like we can use we don't necessarily would use this platform that we're on now, which is BeLive.tv. There's a plug for that company, but we would use another company called Zoom, and you use Zoom. We talked about Zoom. It's a great way to have a conversation. My clients, I work all of them with Zoom. I don't have to travel anywhere. I need an internet connection and a laptop.
This technology has given us the ability to sell nationally. I mean, there's really no limit to it of what you can do. You know, you just have to, when it comes to, and I always tell my agents, don't try to master everything. Just pick one or two. Pick Facebook, work with that. Learn how to master that. You know, we were talking earlier before we went on live about how we work on different advertising and what works for me, what works for you, and so on and so on. But I use Facebook very strategically. I also use retargeting as well. Right. Remember I talked about the boosted posts, and I have proprietary information that's boosted. And then what I wind up doing is they get retargeted, come back to my site. You know, I use my CRM on a daily basis. I'm in it on a daily basis.
Which one do you use, Matt?
I use my main one's Market Leader.
Okay, cool.
I've been using Market Leader for years. But the great thing about a CRM is the more work you do in it, the busier it gets.
That's right.
I try to capture everybody's information in that CRM. You know, I went to a party the other day with a new mortgage person I met down in Roselle Park. Now it's out of my realm, but I remember way back when I was one of those guys that went to one of those 4-day seminars with Tony Robbins over in the middle, walked on the fire and all that fun stuff. And I remember him saying, you got to step out of your comfort zone. You don't grow unless you step out of your comfort zone. And I have a lot of agents that I know, they won't step out of their comfort zone because they're concerned about what the other people in the office are going to say to them. And I'll tell you a funny little story. I was at the Coldwell Banker office in Clifton for a brief time, and I decided to go up to Bergen County because I wanted to sell higher-end homes. And I remember walking into that office, and this was from a Craigslist lead, okay? A Craigslist lead. Everybody says, oh, you know, Craigslist, that's a bit, don't do that. Craigslist lead emails me. They see a house in Wyckoff, $1.8 million. So what I do, I follow up with it. It was a real lead. My first week in the Wyckoff office, I get a $1.8 million buyer from Craigslist.
Right.
As soon as I did that, every agent in the office hated me.
Of course they're going to hate you.
Figure out what I was doing to get that, you know, because I was a brand new guy in the office, and I got a $1.8 million home. And I said, well, you know, I'm at this all the time. You know, I think the problem with agents, a lot of them, they won't be consistent. They expect instant results. There's an old Zig Ziglar where you're priming the pump and you're pumping, you're pumping and pumping, and people give up 3 feet before they hit the water. You know,
well, I look at that as they won't go far enough to see if something works. It's if I'm not going to do the demonstration now, but it's called the J curve. I mean, you start and then all of a sudden you're going down, and before you even give it a chance to go up and make money, you quit.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop the system. Look, I'm a firm believer that any system, you can buy it, you can make it up. Any system, as long as you're consistent with it, is going to work. Whether it's Haas Pratt, whether it's all these other guys, all the other guys selling stuff all over the place, they want to sell you systems. They're not coaches. They want to sell you systems. They work. Haas Pratt had one on the other day at a webinar the other day. And it's the same stuff he was selling 10 years ago. He just changed some of the words. It's the same stuff. And it's good for him.
It's really interesting because I love going to these seminars, and I've been to, the Tom Ferry ones, the Brian Buffini ones. I've been to all that. And Brian Buffini had a great, not plugging him, but he had a great analogy of it. He said, when a rocket takes off, it expends about 95% of its fuel just to get out of the atmosphere. But once it gets into the atmosphere, it's in the slipstream. So I think a lot of agents struggle with getting their business into the slipstream.
Yep. That's a great analogy.
That's exactly where you need to be. Right. And once you get up there, it's a little easier, but you got to continually do it. You have to continually keep going. Now, I watch real estate like I watch the stock market. I watch trends and I follow trends and I see what's going on. I watch what's happening. There are a lot of companies out there right now that want to eliminate agents and brokers in the process. Now, they could come fairly close, but the one thing that they're not taking into account is the human emotion.
Right.
There's not any app, any website, anything like that going to replace human emotion. And that's where a lot of our business, residential real estate, 95% of it is emotional. You've done it. We've had those clients up, down, up, down. I call this a bipolar business because you could be 2 deals deep in the morning and losing 3 deals in the afternoon. It all depends on how you handle it. You have to really mitigate it. That's why the success rate, we're talking what, 85%, 87%? Step away after the first 6 months of getting their license. Right. But it's the consistent, boring, mundane things you have to do in order to be successful at this.
Right. As I said, I talk about being different, and that was the whole point of, I know you do things differently, and that we've talked about that, and it also works because it is different. And the simplest different thing that everybody can do to be successful is consistency. Just keep following it, keep working hard on it. You do things. I mean, you do things. You don't do things really that differently. You do things in a consistent, steady manner. Right. And you set your plan up, and you don't veer from that plan at all, because whatever you've got written down and other things you've got to do, you get your work done, you get your jobs done. I don't know if you time block or not, but I'm a big a proponent of that.
I am a big proponent. I time block, and then I get busy, and then I have to re-time block because, my goal this year, I sat down a couple of weeks ago and I was going through a bunch of different things. Remember I told you I always, with Tom Ferry, I always would DM with him on Twitter. Right. Actually, there was a couple, and the way I reach out to people, I ask them a question on Twitter. Nobody seems to use that method. But Barbara Corcoran was the one years ago. I reached out to her, and she gave me some good advice. Tom Ferry was another one. Ryan Serhant, that kid, that guy, that gentleman, the very successful gentleman. Well, he had some good tidbits as well. But these are all people I communicate with on Twitter. And I use that platform also. I think people misuse it the wrong way, or they don't understand it, because I got a lot of agents that I don't know how it works, so I don't bother with it. Like I said, going back to the consistent mundane things, doing something every day, doing something, no matter what it is. It could be, if you have no business, make business.
Right.
Email somebody.
Right.
Call someone. Say hello. But my whole point was I made a commitment to myself, which I fell off the last couple of days. I wanted to talk to 16 people per day. I made a list by my desk, and I numbered it from 1 to 16. Now, it could be a text conversation or a phone call. And it could be past client, current client, a renter. It could be a for sale by owner. It could be another broker, another agent. Some way, somehow, try to expand my influence, because business can come from anywhere. And you
didn't get it done because other things came up out of your time blocks. Is that it?
Well, what wound up happening was, the convention got in the way.
Right.
So there was 2 days that was killed. And then by the time I got back, I'm playing catch up. And so I'm right back into the slipstream of it again.
So one of the things that I review always is I look at time blocks and I look at planning. I mean, one of the things that might help you, I don't know, it's just a thought, is one of the things we forget is that when we have these conventions, we say, okay, we've got everything and all this time, we got to put out. We were talking about some events that I'll be going to in January, and you got to put the time together. And in a daily real estate agent's life, professional's life, there's going to be interruptions. There are not that many real estate professionals or agents that can turn their phone off, and that's either figuratively or literally, where they're doing prospecting or they're doing ad work or whatever they're doing. But the suggestion I have to everyone when they have a block where they get interrupted, well, you've got to make that time up, because those time blocks are supposed to be non-negotiable times, right? So if they're supposed to be non-negotiable and you make them unnegotiable, you've got to make it up. So what I tell everyone is you've got to put some way, somehow, somewhere in your schedule, in your blocking, a flex block. It might be 30 minutes a day, where that's a non-negotiable time where you got to make up the time that you screwed up earlier. So it's actually a mistake block. It's made up, and it may sound silly, but if you take that time, that extra time is for what you didn't get done, so that you can stay on top of things. And when you have an event to go to, that's going to help you as well. Just a thought, something you might want to think of. And if anybody out there thinks of it, great, do it.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. But I think, I keep going back to it, and I keep going back to it. And then the time block. And when I do time block and I do what I say I'm going to do, I get busy again.
Right.
It's kind of like 22. You do the work, you get busy.
Right. Right.
The problem we have in real estate, and it's even me, I have to figure it out, is we have this cycle that goes like this. It's up and down all the time. So we're either busy, not busy, busy, not busy, busy, not. The times we're busy, we're not filling in the gaps. It's that roller coaster ride. You've been in it for a lot of years.
Right.
Some months are great, some months sucked.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's a matter of using the different pillars of your business and how many pillars you have and how many, I don't know if you want to call them niches. I wouldn't call them niches. I would call them, ways of getting business. There's got to be more than one or two. I mean, most people,
absolutely.
Most people in our business, are the Zillow agent, where that's their only way to get business. And it's not lead generation. That's called buying leads.
Yeah.
Maybe they're good at converting. Good for them. If they were better at converting, if agents were better at converting, the national average would be more than 1 to 2%.
I'm glad you touched on that, because I see Zillow as I'm not a big fan of Zillow, and I made that obvious. And I say it all the time. I don't spend a nickel on Zillow, number one, or Realtor.com or Homes.com. The agents that depend on Zillow as their sole source during a good market, okay. But what's happening now is the market's shifting, and we're going into a normal market. Now, you remember a company called YHT Foxons?
Absolutely.
Remember those guys?
Yeah, I do.
The 1% company? Those companies are back right now.
Yeah, they are.
And they are the Redfins of the world. I'm not sure if Compass is, but the Redfins of the world, where
Purple Bricks.
Purple Bricks is another one. And it's interesting because Redfin's model, and I'm going to put this out there, and I'm going to destroy this for all you brokers that are out there. What I'm about to tell you, all you agents, you can legally give a rebate to your client, what is a buyer's agency rebate agreement.
That's right.
Now, when I was at Coldwell Banker, they told me doesn't exist, it's illegal.
About 10 years ago, it came out.
Right.
In New Jersey.
We're
talking about New Jersey here, folks.
That's all Redfin is doing right now. But Redfin did it in a way where the home buyer can use a slider to find out exactly how much they can save. It's all a gimmick. It's a gimmick. So if they have a little slider, it tells you how much they're going to give you back at the closing.
Well, it is all a gimmick, and I've got something I'm coming out with in January, and I'll give a little teaser here. It has to do with heroes and what we're doing with buyer rebates and other kinds of things for our customers having to do with heroes. That's a veteran, that's a police officer, law enforcement, as well as EMTs and first responders. So we've got that coming out in January. That's going to be really cool to give back to our community of service people. That's that. We've been on a good time, and I hope the people watching and will watch it got something out of this. Matt, I don't know if you've got any closing words or anything, but
one more thing I want to say to all the agents that are out there right now, because we are in a shifting market, and you see it, I see it, and what's going on. And every new agent that comes up to me and they say, what do I do for 2019? Start building your brand. Forget the Zillow leads. Build your brand. Learn how to do that first. And brand is not a logo. Just remember that.
That's right. Right.
Build your brand for 2019.
Great. Thanks. Hey, Matt, thanks so much. And what we're starting today in this episode 24, and feel bad for the 23, or well, it wasn't, haven't had 23 guests, but the previous guests, but if they contact me, I'll be glad to do this. But we have a parting gift, and you'll get one of our hats. We send this out to you. Anybody that's on the show. So nice hat, real estate skill builder, and we'll send that to you. And look, I thank you so much for coming on. I know it was a Saturday edition, but my commitment when I started these 24 weeks ago was to not miss a Friday, no matter what. I physically was unable to be on yesterday. I
figured something was up.
I mean, physically unable, but you know what? I'm going to say we haven't missed it since we did it today. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're really busy. Good luck with everything. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And I'll be seeing you real soon. And everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next Friday. We've got a digital marketer coming on with us. His name's Nick Calabro. He's going to talk about what he does that's different than all the other guys you're wasting your money with, and you won't be wasting money with him if you wanted to work with him. That's that. Nick Calabro, next Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Matt, thanks a lot. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take it easy.
Take care, man.